Hello, everybody. We have our next discussion club on the Ukrainian-Russian war situation. And I think that it's a very critical time to talk because on this week, we had a very, very interesting news. First of all, the Ramstein coalition created, land lease approved, and of course, the very interesting what's happening on the battlefield, because anyway, we depends on the what our soldiers doing on the battlefield, not actually the congressman doing in the Congress. But I like to start with land lease and Ramstein coalition because it's, I think, even more important now than activities of Russians on trying to attack Ukrainian forces in Donbass and the south part of Ukraine. Of course, we will talk about it. But now I'd like to talk and invite you to discuss the situation with land lease and the Ramstein coalition. I just want to give some points. What does it mean in generally? So if we're talking about what US Congress approved yesterday, so basically it's very interesting. US Congress revives World War land lease program at that time for allies, but now for Ukraine. So it's not something new. They revived the same program what they had in the Second World War. So it's very interesting. And in that time, during the Second World War, this law called like an act to promote the defense of the United States. And it means that this measure revives the World War II era program that allowed Washington to lend or lease military equipment to US allies. This bill would allow to United States to provide equipment to Ukraine now with just technical requirement to pay at some later date. And of course, at the same time, House passed legislation that Biden asked Congress to approve 33 billion more for Ukraine, including more than 20 billion for weapons, ammunition, and other military assistance. And I'd like to say that land lease formally introduced an act to promote the defense of the United States during the Second World War was a policy under which United States supplied Great Britain, Soviet Union, and other allied nations with food, oil, material, weapon between 1941 and 1945. In general, it was aid for free, although some hardware such as ships were returned after the war, and the United States was given leases on army and naval bases in Allied territory during the war. The terms of the agreement provided that the material was to be used until returned or destroyed. In practice, after the Second World War, very little equipment was returned, and most was destroyed during the war, and actually it was like a 90% discount, in fact. So I think it's a fantastic situation, fantastic option for Ukrainian armed forces. I think a couple months ago, we couldn't even believe in it, couldn't even dream in it. And I think now we could discuss the possible equipment. Even in some news, we had already F-16 Patriots, HIMARS, heavy artillery, anti-ship missiles appeared. So this is a critical instrument to defeat. I'd like to ask you, guys, what do you think about Russian reaction? Because I didn't find any reaction on this, because it's too strong factor. Because I could remind you that in Second World War, this law on the land lease of United States mean actually that United States declares war on Germany at that time. Do you think it means that United States declares war on Russia now?
First of all, I'd like to add that before we had a meeting in Ramstein and before the voting for land lease, there was a visit of Mr. Blinken State Secretary Blinken and Minister of Defense of the United States, Mr. Austin, to Kyiv, where they not only announced additional assistance to Ukraine, but made very strong statements, which preceded the following events. I mean, this Ramstein meeting and the Lend-Lease voting. So in Kyiv, Lloyd Austin, he said that we West, the United States, the Ukrainian partners, we want to weaken Russia to such extent that it cannot do what it did before the invasion in Ukraine. So it's very strong statement, and it's like a point of no return for Russia. So it means that the United States, they are now sure in Ukrainian victory, and they are sure that they want to defeat Russia. Yeah, they say that this is the diplomatic statement, diplomatic words, that they want Russia to be weakened. But in fact, they want to defeat Russia. Of course, with the help of Ukraine. So, and this is the meeting that then was conducted in Ramstein and the voting for Lend-Lease. These are the let's say the consequences of such a visit, and the proof that of this such strong statement. As for Russian reaction about Lend-Lease, I think that they are shocked to some extent, and then there will be a reaction, I think, in maybe in a few days, but I think they are shocked now, and they just don't know what to say. They don't have some kind of the consolidated reaction from the Kremlin.
Yeah, I saw some reaction from Putin that he told that, like in anecdote, that we have such instruments, but we won't show you.
but yeah, sure. But we had it was nothing new. We have had several times before. We have such kind of the weapons that nobody in the world has, and we will show you this Kuskinamat and so on and so forth. But the result is that anti-Putin coalition is formed, and that the West have the strong will to help us. So it's very important for understanding. And Russians and Putin, they understand this, and that's why there is no strong reaction from Moscow. It means that Russians really don't know what to do. Of course, there was the reaction. There was missile strikes on Kyiv.
Yeah, I just wanted to add.
Yeah, this so they are angry, but at the same time, this missile strikes means that they are desperate. They're actually desperate. They don't know what to do. They sent Gerasimov to Izium to lead their troops.
I think everything, it's not reaction, it's all of mistakes. It's even more mistakes every hours to make this situation even worse for Russians. And,
sure, but it's from our point. So we see that these as mistakes, but Russians don't consider these as mistakes. So they consider it like a strong reaction to the Western. So they still tries to threaten the West. But the West, with this Ramstein meeting, by Lend-Lease and by strong support of Ukraine, shows Russia clearly that they don't afraid the Russian threats anymore.
I think that it is worth noting that according to Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, this Ramstein coalition is not a single act. I mean that these meetings will occur on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. And that means that this coalition may be extended with new countries. And also this means that support for Ukraine will be coordinated in a proper way. So maybe in some foreseeable future, we will see this coalition will transform into some political dimension. I mean that this anti-Putin coalition may coordinate support for economical rebuilding of Ukraine, and that will be a great basis for achieving not only military goals but political also.
Yeah, by the way, what do you think? Maybe it will be the basement for new organization, because now, I think the NATO now it's not so effective because of, for example, Hungary can block everything. Maybe this organization was more effective. For example, the mechanism for voting, not without this consensus.
Yes,
I think it doesn't work.
There can be two ways: on new organization or just reforming the NATO.
Yes, look, just look, after defeat of Russia, there will be no purpose for existence of NATO as it was before, because NATO is not an organization that can be offensive towards China. NATO is not represented on a Pacific theater.
They have AUKUS there. So yeah, countries participating in AUKUS, they participating in Ramstein coalition. So it's even more effective. And I think the Ramstein coalition now it's focused on the practical coordination. I'd like to say that coordination is a key word, because before it was kind of Slovakia sending this type of equipment, Czechia the same, France, Canada, Australia, etc. It could be a nightmare for Ukrainian units when you have several types of tanks, several types of artillery, so you need to organize logistics, maintenance, specialists. Can you imagine that in your battalion you have several types of artillery and armor vehicles? It could be for technical department, it could be crazy. So I think that coordination of these Ramstein coalition could be the critical importance that on the initial stage of the supplying, they could coordinate what could be, for example, better sent to Ukraine, or maybe supersede the something to send to Ukraine and send to another country to supersede the equipment sent it to Ukraine. Like Slovakia, for example, they send S-300 to Ukraine, but United States sent Patriots to Slovakia. So I think it's a main thing now. But on the next step, of course, when Ukrainian-Russian war will develop, and it will be a next stage on the strategic level, what even now we started to discuss what could be the consequences if Ukraine will conduct some operations in Transnistria, or, for example, on some operations on Russian territory. What is the answer, or what is a possible answer of Russia, and what is the answer of Ramstein coalition or Ukraine? And the voices from our allies very clear. Ukraine has a right for self-defense. So go ahead, please. And it was very, I don't remember who told it, but it was very nice. On the tactical level, Ukraine could decide by itself. So guys, go ahead and don't ask us. You could use our armament, whatever you want in any territory, of course, against Russian. So I think that, what do you think, what could be the period when Western, especially United States, F-16 Abrams will be operating in Ukrainian armed forces? And what do you think when this equipment will be effective on the battlefield? Will it be on time, or maybe a little bit late, if you're looking at the map?
I think that just after this meeting in Ramstein, Ukrainian authorities made some statements that is quite fair about timing of capabilities that Ukraine can use on the ground. I mean that it will take us at least 2 months maybe since beginning of June, Ukraine will be capable not just to put some GIRs, some Western weaponry, but to strengthen some units that are exhausted because they are in fight for more than 2 months. But the issue is to provide counteroffensive operations. That means that you should be capable to use Western weapon not on a tactical level but on operational, and to use it in different dimensions, to coordinate artillery strikes with UAV, with drones, and so on. So obviously it will take us much more time to understand how to coordinate these new types of weaponry that will come sooner or later.
You mean to change the Ukrainian doctrine? I mean the doctrine of battlefield, not the strategic doctrine, but the doctrine of the, because if you have a for example, HIMARS, it's a little bit different from the our MLRS, so Soviet type. It's a high precision weapon. So if you put it on the units and you go to the battalion level after this brigade levels, and of course the operational level, you need to change the coordination between units, how to use these units. It was the same like Ukrainian forces started to use widely these UAVs. It's dramatically changed the tactical and doctrinal using of the units, and of course the javelins. Look at the change of the Ukrainian tactical doctrine. The small groups, very fast operations. It's not like a Soviet style Russian operations. That of course the UAV together with command and control and such a great weapon like a javelins. They changed the doctrine, and I think Volodymyr absolutely right that you're talking about the change. It needs to change the doctrine. Of course, it should be a great piece of job for Ukrainian commanders from the high level, from the general staff, and I think it's really could be a challenge for them. Guys, I'd like to propose to move forward and discuss the actually battlefield. If we're talking about the doctrines, and what do you think about the developments? Of course, we know that Russians even more intensively trying to achieve their goals. So the goal is very clear, to have some control of the whole Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, but they don't succeed. They don't succeed anything. Actually, they staying on the same position, basically on the same position like we told before 1 week, and some progress, small progress, but with strong losses, very ineffective. What do you think about this? A lot of experts now talking about it. In the next 2 weeks will be critical for Russians and for Ukrainians, because Russians, first of all, they will try to get some success before 9th of May. And after 9th of May will be a period of like, how to say it, inertia of this process, when Russians will understood that they didn't get anything. Putin will be crazy about it. And actually it will be very difficult psychologically for Russia to stop. Maybe it will be disaster for them, but from my opinion, and I will ask you to give your thoughts about it. How Ukraine will use this period? I mean, after the 9 of May and this psychological disaster for Russians.
As we heard yesterday, I think our Commander-in-Chief General Zaluzhny said that Russians, they sent all their reserves into Ukraine. So all the Russian reserves are now on Ukrainian territories. It means that next 1 or 2 weeks will be very, very important. So our task of our troops now is to deter Russians, to deter Russian offensive, and to win some time for preparing our offensive operation. And since our troops are ready for that, I think that, and at the same time, the Russian troops will be exhausted enough. Our command will they will decide the most preferable directions for the counteroffensive, and I think that they will conduct this counteroffensive. So, but but the idea is to stand this 1 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, Volodya, I'd like to ask you about the Mariupol, because Mariupol roles, it's absolutely significant and critical, again, as we told before. And of course, if you're talking about the next 2 weeks, for sure, I think that for sure Putin will request and demand from generals to bring Mariupol before 9th of May. And say, of course, Putin already announced their victory and they cleared up the Mariupol. What do you think about Mariupol prospects? Because actually, UN Secretary General told that he will help for civilians extraction from the Azovstal, but the military is still there, Ukrainian militaries.
Yes, just today, Ukrainian authorities announced evacuation operation from Azovstal, and I really hope that wounded and civilians will be evacuated, maybe to their third country. As we know, Turkey play a mediator role, and just several days ago there were exchange of pilots, Russian pilot towards American one, and that might be a sign that Turkey is engaged in this negotiation process, and with support of Western authorities, Western leaders, Putin may make such a step of goodwill. But obviously that will not be an end of Ukrainian resistance in Azovstal. And what is crucial for Russians that also understand this is that Ukrainian forces that are still capable to defend those parts of Mariupol that are still under Ukrainian control, to prevent providing them additional weaponry, armor, and food supplies. So I think that this
Volodya,
is the main...
one more thing
Yeah.
for you to discuss. I think that maybe, of course, you heard about the Ukrainian, okay, let's say, special forces destroy the bridge on the Melitopol, which is very significantly very important for Russians to provide the logistics to exactly to Mariupol. I mean, from this part of the front for Russian forces. But I think it will be more difficult for Russians to concentrate forces. Of course, the crucial role here is aviation, because as I understand it, Russian aviation made dozens of the strikes against Azovstal. But I think for Ukrainian forces, will be absolutely important to put some air defense there. How, I don't know how to do it, but to stop Russian aviation. They stopped.
I think Ukraine isn't capable to do so. I can't imagine how Ukraine can impose anti-aircraft missiles there.
The Stingers, they small in size, so it actually it's possible technically, but from the military picture, I cannot see how it's possible, because Stingers could change the picture there, and of course it could prepare Ukrainian offensive, counteroffensive operation and strikes from, for example, from Volnovakha area and Gulaipole area to change this picture toward Melitopol, for example. If Ukrainian forces will try to attack Melitopol from Gulaipole, it means the change in the all of pictures close to Mariupol
On the south at all, not only
at all. Yeah,
on the
yeah.
south
Of course,
it will cut all the Russian supplies that comes from Crimea. It means that Kherson, their troops and to Mariupol.
Why I point on this bridge? Because it looks like Russians, of course, now is trying to even more attack on the Mykolaiv direction, maybe Kryvyi Rih, because this night they tried to even to go forward toward Mykolaiv, and it means that if we destroy the bridge toward Melitopol, it means that we cut the front. So we cut the southern part from the western part and eastern part, and now eastern part will have some problems because, to be honest, for Russians, it's pretty difficult to get some materials from Donbass and send them to Mariupol to support these attacks, because they, as I understood, they send the materials and weapons and not military but personal, but materials from Crimea, from occupied Crimea. Now it will be like a cut front.
And in such conditions, such circumstances, the HIMARS system with the possibility to use this long-range missile is very crucial. So we can destroy such an objects, such the bridges, bases,
and maybe switchblades to destroy air defense and electronic warfare. Yeah. Because it's significantly important to use Bayraktar, for example, even Ukrainian aviation. It's impossible if Russians had a strong system of air defense, electronic warfare around Mariupol area. So it means that we should destroy them. And Switchblade looks like pretty valuable against such targets, not against tanks, but against air defense, electronic warfare, which is creating very bad conditions, not comfortable conditions for Ukrainian aviation. Yeah, I think that we can talk a little bit about our third topics. If we're talking about this Melitopol bridge, the same events could happen in all of these. They happen in similar events in Russian territory, and for example in Transnistria, and it could be a different nature of these events. Sometimes it's provocations, sometimes it's real strikes by Ukrainian special forces or so-called partisans. So what do you think about it?
The events that happen in Russia in this border the regions that are close to Ukrainian border, they can have different origins. So I'm sure if we talk about the objects close to Ukrainian border, it can be either missile strikes from Ukrainian side, or the results of activity of our special forces. Also, it can be, it can be the result of, if we talk about this storages, depots with weapons and also ammunition, and also about this
design bureau,
that were designing rockets, etc. And that could be the result of the Russian corruption. So the guys that work there, or the design bureaus, or if you talk about the depots, the people who are responsible for these facilities, they at the certain time they received a lot of money for this for developing rockets, or a lot of money, or a lot of these weapons, ammunition, and they were just stolen or sold to someone else. And when
why not suspicious? Why not suspicious?
Sure. So after one month of the war, the Putin asked very certain questions. So why the special operation is not going well? What's with this ammunition that we had, the storages with ammunition, the Ukrainian war? What happened to them? And to hide the evidences of this corruption things, so they just blew it up.
Absolutely.
These storages. And
for example,
same with these design bureaus.
Yeah, maybe you remember that the Russians always, for dozens of years, talking about a lot of high precision ammunition for artillery. Where is this ammunition? I don't know. It's they use normal ammunition, projectiles against Ukrainian forces with absolutely not very nice precision. So they don't have this Krasnopol or something like this.
But just
like a massive fusion.
Just one word about precision. So yesterday there were 2 strikes in Kiev.
Yes.
The target was the Artem plant, but they hit the ground. The rockets hit the ground close to the fence of this plant. So what is the quality of these rockets? The target is not very small. It's a big territory of the plant. It's really big territory.
Yeah, Igor, but I can explain. I can explain because it's originally all of these calibers, all of these Iskanders, it's a Soviet missiles, especially caliber. And that's why they of course, during the Soviet Union, they prepared it for nuclear warheads. And when you have a precision like 30 meters, it absolutely doesn't matter.
It's super precision then.
30 meters, you can you imagine? It's if you have a 20 kilometer destroyed, so 30 meters, it's nothing. Of course, for sea launch missiles, it's 30 meters. It's a critical range, because if you should hit on the ship or very close to the ship to destroy, even with nuclear, because if you hit on the aircraft carrier and something like 100 meters, it means that it's possible that aircraft carrier avoid the main strike, and it's not very effective. But for land forces, they use these Iskanders, and of course, remember these Ha-55 missiles. It's a Soviet missiles, actually produced in Kharkiv, by the way, and with motor siege engines in Zaporizhia. But now, unfortunately, it's a paradox of the Soviet Empire that this a very interesting fact, by the way, it's not from the topic, but Ukraine sent to Russia kind of 500 such a missile Ha-55 instead of payment of the gas in 1999. It's crazy. I found this fact, and I think that exactly these 500 missiles now striking on Odessa, Kiev, and Ukrainian cities. Yeah. Again, this Russian gas. Never buy Russian gas. Never, because you will get the missile.
Okay, so let's a little bit return to the question. So I think that it is quite possible version about internal sabotage between different branches of Russian military forces and special services. So they try to put the blame on each other and may make some provocations.
But Volodya, just to interrupt you, if we're talking about oil depots or stockpiles, do you think that FSB, for example, could destroy some? Because I just explained my opinion that every oil depot belongs to some oligarch, and if you destroy this depot, it's just you destroying Sechin, for example, Sechin capital, or another oligarchs. Do you think that FSB or GRU can participate in these games? Maybe one oligarch pay money to FSB to destroy this stockpile. Maybe. Is it possible?
I think yes, because in these circumstances we see that oligarchs have no leverage on Putin, and that means that special services may harm their interests as well. But obviously, for me, some blasts on Russian territory was a result of Ukrainian special forces operations. We have not to reject that. But
and maybe remember these two helicopters. It was so obvious. I'm not sure that it was Ukrainian helicopters, but if yes, it was absolutely genius operation.
Yes.
If yes.
And also there were debits of Bayraktars and other UAV from Ukrainian origin, and Russians put these photos, so they blamed Ukraine. But at the same time, Russian special services may use this situation, and I think that is quite a sustainable version if we talk about developments in Transnistria.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Transnistria forces and Russian forces and locals, they are not capable to make any offensive operations against Ukraine. That means that local authorities are obviously against this war. They don't understand the goals, and they are not interested in such developments. So
And have you seen these videos from the camera on this shooting? Yeah, it was a bad theater. It was absolutely bad theater. The guys arrived to complete the mission, but they didn't, let's say, divide the roles. And first of all, they were very calm. After this, one of the guys started to make some fast movement to show that they are very afraid on this. We are Banderovцы, so we should be not so very sure and on this situation. So it was a bad theater, and obviously in Transnistria, I absolutely agree with you. It was a provocation. They started to create some psychological impact on local population, of course, on Moldovan leadership, because President Sandu was absolutely shocked on this, to be honest, and she told that we try to avoid the situation, we try to be calm, and I'm not sure that it's very nice from Moldova to be neutral against.
But again, what after all this provocation, what was the result? What Maya Sandu said? She said that Moldova will help Ukraine.
Yeah, of course.
Ukraine. So as always, the result of such Putin's moves are totally opposite.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
because
totally opposite.
They use it. They use it. Of course, they use it for a long time. It's a KGB. It's a traditional KGB methods. But they use it in 2014, and it was sometimes actually effective, especially in Crimea and Donbass on the April, May, maybe even not in June, because in June it was absolutely clear who is who. Now it's absolutely opposite. I am absolutely agree with you. It's opposite.
What was the idea of those provocations in Transnistria? The people are running away from
but
Transnistria. They don't want to, to вставай страна огромная and support Russian troops and to take part in this against.
No, one of the obvious goal, from my opinion, it's to show Ukrainian forces is pretty serious, and Russian is ready to attack Ukrainian territory. So you need to put some forces from Mykhailo and put them to Transnistria. I mean, to the border.
It was the threat that they can use these forces in Transnistria to attack Odessa.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay, but how many troops do they have there? They have.
It doesn't matter if. Can you imagine if Russian troops, as they planned before in the first phase of the operation, of course they occupied Mykhailo, go to Odessa, surrounding Odessa, and of course, if Ukrainian forces defending on the northern part of Odessa, it will be very convenient if even 10,000 of force will make a provocation and started to attack on the back on the Ukrainian forces. It will be pretty effective. But not in this situation, of course.
Not now, right? Not now, because all this. I say how many? 1,500 of this Russian contingent, right? And
they can prepare like 10,000-15,000 of Transnistrian guys if they
totally
yes, totally.
But their armament, there was their old
absolutely
old BMPs, everything is very old.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
They're not capable. Without Russian support on the ground to make any.
The idea is, Igor, but it's not a line forecast. If you imagine that they have a land corridor from Crimea to Transnistria, they could send a lot of new equipment. They planned it. I'm sure that land corridor to Transnistria changed the situation. Transnistria becoming not an island. Now between Moldova and Ukraine, but absolutely connected territory with like a DNR, LNR. And of course, after this, they could use any equipment and 15,000 of troops with good equipment. It's pretty strong force if you're talking about the surrounding of Ukrainian forces close to Odessa from the north. So I think it makes sense if we consider in the first phase of operation. Now it's total mess for them.
And we connect somehow this provocations in Transnistria and the strikes again, the breach in Belgorod-Dnistrovsk. Yes,
sure. Because it's one breach. It's only one breach to this Ukrainian region. Another road, the only road, go across the Moldovan territory through I think it's Palanka village. Yeah, so if we're talking about can you imagine if Gagauzia, for example, in case of Transnistria supporting by Russian forces by land corridor, of course they could cross these Palanka, close the Palanka road, and it means that for Ukrainian units standing on this area, it will be disaster. Not disaster, but together with Marine Corps operations from the sea, it will be a very difficult situation for them if they don't have a bridge. If they don't have Palanka road.
In this region.
Of course.
From the south to the
Ismail and Bergen-Dnistrovsky could be cut by bridge and Palanka road. If we're talking about the Russians from Transnistria close this road, going to, of course, it will be kind of aggression against Moldovan state because it's sovereign territory of Moldova. But if we look on the wide picture, remember this Lukashenko map from А я вам сейчас покажу. So he showed this map, and it was totally clear that Moldova will be a next target, together with Odessa operation. And of course, it looks like they continue conduct the same algorithm from 24th of February, destroying this bridge, trying to organize something in mobilization in Transnistria, and trying to get again this operation against Odessa. So it's like
what's the result? So there's no mobilization in Transnistria. The bridge is restored. I was a bit surprised because two strikes on the bridge and our guys they restored the bridge. Okay.
Yeah, because it was kind of again about precision weapon. It was a free strikes in first attempt. It was a free missiles. One missile shoot on the sea, another missile shoot on the close to, and the third sign kind of touch the bridge, not destroy it. So like 100 meters, it's okay.
So it means that the bridges are not so easy target for Russian missiles as their propaganda poses.
If you travel to Zatoka, you remember this, it's very narrow. They should use a nuclear weapon to destroy it.
If you see how the Russian missiles hit such a big object like Artem plant, so such target like a bridge, it's almost impossible for them to destroy. So.
As well as bridges throughout Dnieper River, because I think a single chance for them to cut down supplies from the west. Because hitting just railway infrastructure, it doesn't have any effect, because we even if this missile hit railway station, we can rebuild these damages just in a day or so.
Yeah, guys, I think we should finalize our great discussion. I think today was absolutely very intensive and good talk. Talking about the bridges, talking about the precision weapon. I like to, the Lend-Lease will help us to finally get effective air defense and missile defense systems, and doesn't matter how many Russian missiles they shoot, but we will have effective air defense and missile defense. It will solve the problem with Russian missile attacks, and I think it will be change the situation totally, especially for logistics, for our bridges, and of course some Russian algorithms which they had, and maybe they try to continue on this. Well, thank you very much. Yeah,
and also with the Russian air support. I mean the aircraft.
Absolutely.
And our guys on the land will do the rest.
Yeah, yeah.
We're doing now.
So,
I have been doing all these 2 months.
Thank you very much for everybody, and we'll meet you next week.